Katherine Anderson sat at her windowside desk on the 35th floor of First Chicago Bank, reviewing mortgage applications. With 10 years of experience as a loan officer, she could spot risky cases at a glance. Living in a high-rise condominium in the Gold Coast district, she wasn't far from her family home in Evanston. Working late again? Yes, there's something about this case that concerns me. Katherine waved briefly to her colleague before returning to her documents. Her meticulous nature was her greatest asset. Finding numerical irregularities and avoiding risks, that was her job and her pride. Since graduating from Northwestern University's economics department, she had always pursued precision. Back in her high-rise apartment, the familiar silence enveloped her. Plants on her balcony swayed in Chicago's twilight. After her divorce 3 years ago, this place had become her castle. Her marriage had ended due to her ex-husband's spending habits. Since then, she'd spent her holidays providing financial counseling to seniors at church and devoted her weekdays to work. These routines brought her stability and peace. Katherine, it's been a while. On Sunday morning, she ran into her father, Robert, at St. Michael's Church. Having worked as a construction site supervisor for 40 years at a local construction company, he had just retired. Living in their Evanston house for nearly 40 years, her father seemed to be losing his once meticulous nature. "How are you, Dad?" "Well, I got my retirement money, so I'm planning to take it easy from now on." Years ago, they used to enjoy picnics by Lake Michigan on weekends. Fall foliage, spring greenery, memories had accumulated with the changing seasons. "Katherine, why don't you come over this Sunday?" "For brunch?" It was a call from her mother, Helen. A former elementary school teacher, she now channeled her passion into Sunday family dinners as a full-time homemaker. The aroma of turkey and casseroles still brought back nostalgic memories. "I'm sorry, work this week is." "Again?" "Ashley comes every week. We're even planning a potluck party." There was a hint of reproach in her mother's voice. Her sister Ashley was a popular Instagrammer with 100,000 followers. From high school cheerleader to social media influencer, she kept landing sponsorship deals through her interior design, fashion, and cooking posts. Her flashy sister had always been their parents' favorite. "Hey, look at this." Ashley's photo showed off a new luxury handbag, apparently a gift from her husband Michael, who had become a sales manager at Blue Ridge Real Estate 2 years ago. The couple, who met at a fraternity party in college, seemed like the ideal young pair. Though Michael appeared kind on the surface, Katherine hadn't missed the greedy glint that occasionally appeared in his eyes. She sometimes wondered if there was something behind his rapid career advancement. Katherine had shouldered financial worries since she was 10. In contrast, her sister had been given everything she wanted and was spoiled growing up. Even now, their parents seemed to admire Ashley's glamorous social media life. They never tried to understand Katherine's preference for a modest lifestyle. "There's an amazing property in Lake Forest." Michael's words to her parents last week lingered in Katherine's mind. Her father's retirement fund of $300,000. That was supposedly being used as a down payment for a mortgage. A $1.5 million mansion. Katherine knew that the average house price in Lake Forest ranged from $800,000 to $1 million. "Dad, maybe you should think this through." Katherine's warnings fell on deaf ears, Her parents seemed determined to buy the mansion. Ashley said she wanted to start living in the new house by Thanksgiving. Catherine's instincts warned her of danger lurking behind this decision. But her parents' minds were already made up. Friday night, Catherine was sipping California wine in her Gold Coast apartment. Chicago's nightscape sparkled beyond her window. The view from the 35th floor always comforted her. She was unwinding from the week's fatigue while watching the sunset over Lake Michigan. It was her usual way of starting the weekend. She took out her cherished wine glass from the cabinet. It was one of the few mementos she'd taken when she divorced. The deep red liquid in the glass trembled slightly. Her smartphone screen displayed a notification for Ashley's Instagram Live. Her sister's broadcasts, boasting 100,000 followers, were always lively. Though she would normally ignore it, something compelled her to press play this time. Everyone. Finally, my dream home. The screen showed a mansion in Lake Forest's luxury residential area, looking like a European castle. An arched entrance, meticulously maintained front yard, and marble stairs. Baroque-style decorations cast shadows in the twilight. Catherine caught her breath. Mom and Dad gave it to us as a present. Ashley's voice was bubbling with excitement. The camera panned across the luxurious interior. An Italian marble fireplace, Czech Bohemian crystal chandelier, 18th century French antique furniture. Everything was arranged to show off. The wallpaper was from the luxury British brand William Morris. The curtains were custom-made silk, she said. This is the living room. The ceiling is 20 feet high. The camera tilted upward with Ashley's proud voice. The chandelier crystals caught the sunset, creating rainbow reflections. This is the dining room. It easily seats 12. A wine cellar filled with premium wines was visible above the mahogany dining table. The kitchen featured a state-of-the-art Viking range. Ashley's commentary continued. Look at this kitchen. Professional-grade stove, Italian dishwasher. This marble island kitchen is perfect for shooting cooking videos. In the background, relatives were chatting cheerfully. Her father was gesturing grandly while talking to someone, and her mother was sipping champagne from what looked like expensive baccarat crystal. Aunts were enviously surveying the new house, and cousins were taking selfies on the sofa. Hey, Michael, show everyone the basement. The screen shook as Michael took the camera. His smug expression flashed briefly. His new navy Armani suit gleamed in the lighting. This is the wine cellar, capable of storing 1,000 bottles. Temperature and humidity are perfectly controlled. Michael's explanation sounded like a showroom salesman. And this is the home theater. The wall screen is 150 inches. Luxurious leather reclining sofas, the latest 4K projector, and a 7.1 ch surround system. Everything was excessively luxurious. The construction costs alone were over $1.2 million, but at a special price. Catherine quickly grabbed her calculator. Her father's retirement fund was $300,000. Even with a mortgage, the payments would clearly be impossible. As a banker, she knew that a household income of at least $150,000 would typically be required for a loan of this size. Her professional instincts were sounding alarm bells. And this is the master bedroom. It's 400 square feet. a vast bedroom with a balcony. Custom king-size bed, walk-in closet, and marble bathroom. The jacuzzi bathtub was like a spa. The balcony supposedly offered a view of Lake Michigan. The closet is lined with Birkins and Chanels. Michael got a bonus for his outstanding sales performance. The camera showed shelves of luxury brand bags. Catherine realized there was a year's worth of her salary sitting there. Envious comments kept flowing on the live stream. Ashley smiled proudly. "Tonight is our housewarming party. We've only invited family and close friends. We're planning a bigger party for Thanksgiving." Catherine's chest tightened at those words. She hadn't received an invitation. She, a real sister, had been completely excluded from the family circle. That became painfully clear. Fighting the trembling in her hands, she dialed her mother's cell number. She felt her heart rate increasing. After several rings, her mother's voice came through. Party noise could be heard in the background. "We're in the middle of the party. Mom, about that house. Only real family deserves to receive a house." Catherine was speechless at her mother's cold voice. She heard her sister's voice in the background. "Mom, let me talk to her." The sound of the phone being passed. High heels clicking. Then her sister's saccharine voice. "Curious about our new house? But it's none of your business. You like your modest life, don't you? Plain people like you wouldn't suit this house." There was sarcasm in Ashley's voice. Someone laughing in the background. "This is the happiness of our real family. You probably wouldn't understand." Goodbye. The call ended. Chicago's nightscape suddenly felt cold. The wine remaining in her glass looked red as blood. Catherine picked up her smartphone again and searched Lake Forest real estate prices. Similar-sized houses were clearly priced much lower than the asking price. Her parents' financing plan was also unnatural. According to the Homeowners Association regulations, even average houses in this area had monthly maintenance fees exceeding $1,000. How did they plan to pay with just her father's pension? And her brother-in-law's company? His rapid promotion in just 2 years, unnaturally high property prices, and his smug expression. Everything swelled into a big question mark in her mind. Early Monday morning, Catherine was heading to Lake Forest before work. Chicago was still asleep. Trees along Michigan Avenue swayed in October's cold wind. The sisters' house was visible before reaching the navigation point. The mansion looming in the morning mist looked like something out of a Gothic novel. Construction traces still remained in the front yard. Catherine parked by the curb and began taking photos with her smartphone. Tiny cracks in the exterior walls. Unnatural repair marks in the foundation. Parts that looked aged mixed with supposedly new construction. Arriving at the bank, Catherine immediately opened her computer. She searched the Lake Forest real estate database. 10 years of transaction history, building permit applications, property tax records. The bank's system provided her with extensive information. Catherine couldn't believe the information displayed on her monitor. Her sister's house had been built 10 years ago. The original contractor had gone bankrupt. After several owner changes, it had come into Blue Ridge Real Estate's possession. Catherine, early as usual. Her colleague Jennifer approached with coffee in hand. Yes, there's a case I'm concerned about. Being perfectionist again? But you know how many people your cautiousness has saved? Jennifer smiled and left. Catherine turned back to her monitor, examining Blue Ridge Real Estate's transaction history in detail. A pattern emerged. Their properties were consistently priced about 40% above market value. Yet sales were completed in short periods. And after sale, many properties reported serious problems. Tom, do you have a moment? During lunch break, Catherine was calling an old friend who worked at a construction company. A trusted expert she'd known since college days. I'd like you to look at a property unofficially. Got it. I'm free at 3 p.m. today. Arriving at the site, Tom immediately noticed problems. This is typical of shoddy construction. His professional eye was unforgiving. Insufficient attic ventilation. Insulation below required levels. This wall tilt is concerning. Tom kept pointing out issues. Most serious is the foundation. No signs of proper soil testing. This area has abundant groundwater, which will eventually cause major problems. The inspection report also suggested falsification of earthquake resistance standards. Some building materials might contain harmful substances already banned from use. Catherine, I'll be honest. This is dangerous. This case needs immediate attention. Tom's expression was serious. On her way home, Catherine stopped by her parents' house. A quiet residential area in Evanston. Though modest and built 40 years ago, her parents had lived happily here. Her mother opened the door. Catherine, we need to talk. In the living room, Catherine spread out the evidence she'd gathered. Photos, blueprints, inspection reports. Everything indicated the house's dangers. Look at this. The foundation's strength is insufficient. There are problems with earthquake resistance. We also found termite damage. Her mother silently stared at the documents. The mortgage payments are likely to become unsustainable. The monthly payments will exceed Dad's pension. Shut up. Her mother suddenly screamed. You're just jealous. You can't stand Ashley's happiness. No, Mom. I'm worried about. Get out. Her mother grabbed the evidence documents and began tearing them up. Photos and papers flew through the air. Her father sat silently. No trace remained of the once meticulous site supervisor. That night, Catherine went to church alone. The silence of St. Michael's Church enveloped her. Sunset through the stained glass cast beautiful light on the altar. God, am I doing the right thing? She knelt in prayer. She didn't want to hurt her family. But she couldn't ignore the danger either. Catherine? Turning around, she saw Elizabeth, an elderly woman she helped with financial counseling. You seem troubled, dear. Yes, about family matters. Do what you believe is right. But don't harbor hatred. Elizabeth's words sank into Catherine's heart. Leaving the church, she had made her decision. She began writing a report to the building inspection department. She scanned all evidence documents and saved them digitally. She also consulted a lawyer in preparation for the worst. Back in her apartment, Catherine stood by the window, gazing at nighttime Chicago. High-rise building lights twinkled like stars. Somewhere, her sister's house's luxurious lights were probably shining like that too. "I'm sorry, Ashley." Her whispered words echoed in the quiet room. Chicago's January was colder than usual. Late one night, Catherine was awakened by the sound of heavy thunderstorm. Winter thunder. It seemed like a harbinger of the disaster to come. Then her phone rang. "Please, help." Her sister was screaming on the other end. Panicked voices mixed in the background. "Ashley, calm down. What happened?" The ceiling collapsed." Catherine instantly grabbed her winter coat and car keys. No time to wait for the elevator. She ran down the emergency stairs. The drive to Lake Forest. The midnight highway was deserted, but rain and snow mixed with wind obscured visibility. Even with wipers at full speed, it was hard to see ahead. The speedometer showed 60 miles per hour. Arriving at the scene, fire truck sirens were already wailing. Residents in pajamas stood shivering in front of the mansion. Firefighters were examining the house with flashlights. "Catherine." Her mother ran up. Her bare face showed deep anxiety. "Mom, is everyone safe?" "Yes, but..." The ceiling of the mansion's second floor had largely collapsed. Rainwater was flowing inside, expensive furniture and antiques were soaked. The proud chandelier lay smashed on the floor, crystal fragments scattered everywhere. "Please, I want to go home." Ashley clung to their mother, crying. No trace remained of the perfect Instagrammer. "This building has serious structural problems," the fire chief announced with a stern expression. Tonight's rain apparently triggered latent defects in the attic. "This building is no longer habitable." As dawn broke, events began moving rapidly. Building inspectors arrived one after another. Already alerted by Catherine's report, they had been watching this property. With this accident, the investigation intensified. Expert assessments were relentless. Her father stood dumbfounded. His years of construction site supervisor experience made him understand the house's problems. Made him painfully aware he had been deceived. This building's value. The real estate appraiser began calculating on his tablet. Normal market value would be around $700,000. Moreover, in this condition, selling is practically impossible. The $1.5 million her parents paid. A house worth less than half that. And now, not even livable. "Where's Michael? Where's Michael?" Ashley's voice suddenly turned anxious. Her husband was nowhere to be seen. His cell phone wasn't connecting, and his company couldn't be reached. Around noon, police called. Suspect Michael Miller of Blue Ridge Real Estate has been detained at O'Hare International Airport. Arrested while attempting to flee to South America. His suitcase was packed with cash. Subsequent investigation revealed all the truth. Organized fraud by Blue Ridge Real Estate. Buying deteriorated properties, making superficial renovations, and selling at more than double market value. Falsifying earthquake resistance standards, using harmful materials, shoddy construction. Everything was meant to maximize profits. Catherine's family weren't the only victims. Similar cases of fraud were discovered throughout Chicago's suburbs. Michael had been a key figure in this scheme. 7 years in prison. The court's verdict came 3 months later. All of Michael's assets were seized and would be used for victim compensation. That day, Ashley deleted all her social media accounts. She left a final message to her 100,000 followers. "All my posts were just a facade. I finally understand what true happiness is. Goodbye." She returned to her parents' home and began treatment for depression. Counseling revealed that behind her glamorous posts, she too had been suffering from her husband's lies. How foolish we were. Mother's voice was tired. The dream of living in a luxury neighborhood had crumbled. What remained was the weight of enormous debt. Their retirement funds were completely lost. The Evanston house would have to be sold to repay the mortgage. Their home of 40 years. They could never return there either. A week after the eviction notice, they began moving belongings out of the Lake Forest mansion. Luxury furniture was mostly ruined by water damage and mold. The proud wine cellar was destroyed by water leaks. Moving trucks carried away the belongings one after another. Ashley just watched silently. No trace remained of her former glamorous self. At dusk, the last vehicle departed. The mansion stood silent like a ghost town. Yellow tape declared it off limits. Catherine watched her family from her car. Her parents, who had ignored her warnings, spoiled her sister and turned away from truth. Her sister, who had been trapped by vanity and pretense, drowning in a fake social media life. And her brother-in-law, who had kept deceiving everyone. But now, there was no hatred in her heart. Only deep sadness and quiet hope for future renewal remained. "Let's go home." Catherine started the car. The mansion in the rearview mirror gradually grew smaller. Spring came slowly to Chicago. On the 35th floor of the Gold Coast high-rise, Catherine arranged her mother's cherished dishes on her newly purchased dining table. "Is this all right?" White lilies in a vase were beautiful in the sunset light. Tonight was special. She was hosting her parents and sister in her new home. The doorbell rang. Opening the door, she found her aged parents. Father's hair had grown much whiter over these 6 months. Deep fatigue remained in Mother's eyes. Mother tearfully embraced her daughter. "Mom, Dad. Welcome." Led to the living room, her parents gazed at the view overlooking Lake Michigan. The 35th floor sunset view showed a different face every day. "This view is lovely." "Yes. It shows me a different expression each day." Ashley came next. No trace remained of the former Instagrammer. Just an ordinary 28-year-old woman in a simple dress. "Big sister." As Ashley struggled for words, Catherine smiled gently. "Want to help?" In the kitchen? They began preparing dinner together. Mother's home cooking recipes. Ashley quietly made salad while Catherine finished the roast chicken. "Remember? When we were kids, we used to bake cakes together." "Yes. I always cracked the eggs, and you beat them." Conversation between the sisters began flowing naturally. Dishes were arranged on the table, and the family sat down. Father poured wine, mother distributed bread. Catherine, Father began speaking. His voice trembled. We need to apologize. Mother continued. We're sorry for ignoring your warnings. Trapped by vanity and pretense, we lost sight of what's important. Big sister. Tears fell from Ashley's eyes. I've been reflecting on my life. I measured my life's worth by social media likes. I thought the number of followers determined my value. Catherine listened silently. But that night when the house collapsed, you were the first to come running. Not my 100,000 followers. Spring breeze stirred the lace curtains. Everyone, please listen. Catherine began speaking slowly. This apartment might be a bit small, but would you like to live here together for a while? Her parents and Ashley showed surprised expressions. But Catherine, your lifestyle. It's okay. I've been thinking a lot about what true luxury means. Outside the window, the sun was setting over Lake Michigan. It's not money. Not a mansion. Not an Instagram-worthy life. Having family together. That's true luxury. Quiet tears rolled down Mother's cheeks. I can handle this apartment's mortgage alone. Don't worry about rent or maintenance fees. Use Dad's pension for your living expenses. Father nodded deeply. Ashley can stay here until she gets settled. Take time to think about your new life. Her sister embraced her with trembling hands. But just one promise. Catherine continued gently. Let's cook together on weekends. I want to pass Mom's recipes on to the next generation. Family smiles spread through the twilight room. On the table, steam rose from Mother's homemade casserole. Father slowly sipped wine, and Ashley was serving salad. Just a simple family meal with no decorations. But it was the true happiness everyone had been seeking. Late that night, Catherine stood on her balcony. Chicago's night view twinkled like stars. The luxury neighborhood mansion was nowhere to be seen. But here in this small place, a new family story was about to begin. Spring breeze gently caressed her hair. Lake Michigan's waves could be faintly heard. Tomorrow was Sunday. The aroma of Mother's pancakes would surely fill this home. Catherine quietly looked up at the sky. The stars seemed to be watching over their coming days with gentle care.